And welcome back into a familiar feeling Lane Stadium as Virginia Tech drops another game here at home to Wake Forest by a score of 30-23. A familiar feeling in Lane, familiar frustration where Virginia Tech feels like they walked out of here and gave Wake Forest the game, essentially with being undisciplined and just showing systematic issues that have been going on. In a tough one, where a game where obviously coming off the NC State game, there was a lot of positive momentum. A lot of fans obviously showed out homecoming weekend, and to roll out a product that has become the norm. And starting with that, like I want to say, a lot of this goes beyond the players. Now the players have to go out and make plays, but I don't think everything should be so leaned into that. Where it's like I do think guys came out here and played hard, fast, and physical. A lot of this is just so systematic, top-down coaching, administration. A lot of things that just have to be able to change. And I know last week was a really, really great win for the team, great win for the seniors to have that memory. But this is just another touch point in time to show the necessary need for sweeping changes from the top down, especially for this football program, this athletic department, but obviously the football program takes precedent in that. And this is another example of that comes from all the way down. First thing, and we'll get into a lot of things, try and touch on some questions. So if you have questions, dump them in the chat. Didn't really put many thoughts together for this, just sort of talking through. I think that middle eight of the game, so much is always made of that middle eight. 4 minutes before halftime, 4 minutes after halftime. When Wake scores 2 touchdowns, let alone the one where they're driving, and they get that touchdown with 10 seconds left, they score 14 points in what this 4 minutes before halftime. Virginia Tech really poorly mismanaged that half. And I know Montgomery got a lot of his flowers after the NC State game. That's a great memory for Virginia Tech at a time when they were down, a great memory for this team and the staff. But it definitely does put to rest a lot of the comments from I was walking around tailgates, and the number one question above the revenue spending anything was, is Montgomery going to be retained? And all due respect to Montgomery and everything, I have all the respect in the world for him to even be able to rally this team to this point. I think that puts that firmly to bed. And I think a lot of people – you get so caught up in the moment. It's like, oh, well, you can go beat NC State. You can go beat Wake. Oh, well, Wake, Georgia Tech's look vulnerable. Go beat them, and then you can get Cal at home. Like this team still has its very obvious pitfalls in coaching and administration that goes way above even any of that. It just doesn't set up people to succeed. So I think starting there, maybe even I got a little too over my skis, as I even said prior on this game, to a pretty fundamentally sound Wake Forest team, albeit under a new coach. But I think Wake Forest would say they found their guy moving forward in Jake Dicker. I thought he coached a really, really nice game. And that's not to say that Virginia Tech didn't have nice individual performances. And I think Montgomery called a pretty good game. I know people were upset with some of those fourth down decisions, but overall, I think that management there at the end of the second half, just being undisciplined. You can talk about it, the Ben Bell roughing the passer. When you have a young guy like Sheldon Robinson, but also Caleb Spencer, 2 guys who had overall pretty good individual performances, but late hit out of bounds extends a drive that turns into a touchdown. You just can't have that. Donovan Green with the second unsportsmanlike contact personal foul, very detrimental. Those 15 yards take away you being able to go for the touchdown on fourth down. And now you're just chasing. And as I said in my video right after, this offense is not an offense that is built to chase. You can't go and put up points. And you're very limited by your quarterback. Kyron Drones did not have another good game. I think just barely over 100 yards. You're very limited in what you can do on offense. I thought the defense played all right. You did what you could. Devon Claiborne got knocked out of the game there early. Isaiah Brown Murray had the pick. But even they got pushed around. They didn't get consistent pressure on Robbie Ashford, only 1 sack. And you're playing from behind. And you're putting yourself in a tough spot. And when the offense is not being able to score, putting them off the field to give the defense more opportunities. And then especially, you weren't penalized that much, but the time you were penalized, they were critical times on third and longs, or times where you had to flip the field. I think it ended up being 6 for 74 or something in that range, which doesn't look bad on paper. When you look at the situation, they all turned into points, and they were on third and longs and at times in the game where you just couldn't have it. And it's just a poor coach team, which goes on throughout the season, and it goes all the way up the chain of command, which is disappointing. I think another thing, if you want to really look at it overall, why has this team struggled so much in Lane Stadium as opposed to years past? I know there's things on the back end, and this is where the sports staff comes in, and no one is out on this. And it's not to say everyone is trying, but you have to do a sweeping evaluation. Okay, why are we struggling at home? Even after all that, I know the students left, but from the top down. When you bring these new people in, and new people are coming in from the top down, like this is going to be a big sweeping change. Timelines will be what they will be, but how do you get the fan base engaged? It starts with being on the field. You have to put a compelling product on the field. You can't pack this place out for a full quarter on an October 4th day where it's 75 whatever degrees out, beautiful day, and they all leave a quarter in. You have to bring a good product. You have to, I know things have changed, but you have to make it compelling. And you haven't shown that, and you're starting to lose. And you're walking up your way, and you see a couple people who really take these hard, talking to alumni from years past, and then there's other people who are just really apathetic. And everyone stay safe who's going down to local establishments that, if they want to get their name shouted out on Kolby's Corner, come get some sponsorships. But those people would just be so happy to go down there right now at 6 o'clock and spend the rest of the night there, and they're totally fine. And that's just a complete mindset shift. And I know a lot of college football programs across the country, even really dominant ones, are having that issue. But it's just, how do you get everyone engaged again? Because you just lost to a conference opponent who I don't think has won in this building since 83, 87. And it's really kind of apathetic. And I know the season's already sort of been shipped off, but after last week, you maybe could have put some of that to bed. And there were just moments where you just kept shooting yourself in the foot, which I think is going to eat a lot of these guys up. And it's not like I'm saying, it's not like the players aren't putting the effort in. I think a big part of that offense, maybe not the biggest part, like reading the boards and other people, was when Terrence Stewart went down. Obviously, he popped that big run. I think it went for 43 yards. He popped that one big 43-yard run. He adds a dynamic element to the offense. Drones hit him on that one short pass, kind of got blown up in the shoulder and was out for the game. That takes away a really dynamic player. Now, when he was in the game, Wake was sort of keying in and diving in on him. But still, when you lose him for the game, you lose a really big weapon. And you saw how dynamic he was. Pretty much won you the NC State game. So you're playing from behind there. And look, when he went down, it just wasn't complimentary. I thought a week ago you saw the best performance of this team, maybe even going back to the entire Pride tenure. Like, I would still count this as the Pride tenure. I know Montgomery's coaching, but all the back-end support staff is still here. They haven't cleaned shop at all this stuff, all their systems. You can't really institute all these brand new systems you want to do. You can change practice and schedules and things a little bit, but you're still staying at the end. You're still doing all these things that Pride instituted. In this era, I thought you had the most full complimentary game a week ago at NC State, and to come here and not be able to show that, the defense, offense, special teams. And that's not, like, when I say special teams, it's not calling out John Love for missing the punt. And I think Nick Velsissis would tell you, he obviously won a couple of those kicks back. A couple of times where he really had to flip the field, and I think he had 127-yarder. It just wasn't complimentary. The defense would go out there and have really good plays and then shoot themselves in the foot and then allow a big chunk play. And the offense obviously got stymied and couldn't get things going at the most important times. And Wake capitalized, tipped the cap. If you're a Virginia Tech person, you have to tip the cap because they capitalized on all the mistakes and made the most of it. And then I think going to the defensive front, when you saw how dominant they were, and Robbie Ashford, he only got sacked once, was able to, even banged up, extend plays, hit pretty key throws. I thought he had a pretty good performance, but I think this just overall ties into that. There's going to be sweeping changes, and this puts a really magnifying glass on all those things. When you see the stadium empty out. Now, yeah, you fill it out. Like, yeah, it's homecoming weekend. A lot of people were here, but were they compelling in the fourth quarter in a one-score game when you needed them? No. Did the product on the field make you feel convinced moving forward? No. And this goes all the way up the chain. And this is just a very, very glaring endorsement of the people running the show right now. And I know a lot of people obviously have come into a new role with some of the changes that they weren't expected to do. But a lot of these people have been here for a really long time, and it's just continued to plummet under their watch. So I think that's the one thing that obviously I think a lot of people have been checked out on the season for a while. But this is kind of the cherry on top for that. One thing I will say, it's going to be a very busy December with whatever the head coach, obviously talking about the search committee, a lot of this is way down the line. But whatever the head coach is, I've been saying it for a while now, you can get the athletic CEO, GM, head coach all right in college football nowadays. It's like at the NFL level, it's anywhere. You have to get the quarterback right. You have to get the quarterback right, and they're going to go and they're going to take a big swing in the winter portal, and you're going to – that guy, whoever you find at quarterback, if you can keep Bergeron in the class for 26, just whoever stays on the roster at quarterback, that is pretty much what determines a lot of the success that you have. And that's going to be really big. because like as much as you can get other things right, if you don't get that quarterback position right, it's really, really hard to win college football games. And it's been like that for a while, but you got to have the signal caller as the guy who can go win you a game. I think Drones has struggled here, so that's going to be really, really important for when that new staff comes in to get that right. Make sure to drop questions in the chat. Go over to vtscoop.com. Have really, really active message boards. Haven't been on there. Just posted the press conference with Montgomery. Said a lot of things that you would expect. The guys played hard. I think they did. I don't think they came out here and played haphazardly. But, yeah, also you're dealing with injuries. Christian Ellis gets a little dinged up. Keelan Adams, I know I'm going to take blame and arrows for that. Sounded like he might roll. Didn't roll today. You didn't have a lot of your weapons at your disposal. Chance Wiggins has been out. A lot of guys. I mean, I can't think of Sherrod Coval, guys that you thought you'd have. And the offensive line's been banged up. So not a lot of things working in your favor, but still, just too many mental errors, just unforced errors today that took Virginia Tech out of contention, honestly. Wake Forest, they played a solid game, but they didn't really make all the winning plays. Virginia Tech just handed them a lot. Kind of Jones threw that interception right here. You're in the 10, 15-yard range on their own side of the field, set up a Wake score. Isaiah Brown Murray, man, had that really, really big interception. And talking to him after the game, he's like, I should have housed it. That's not to say that he didn't have confidence in his offense, but looking back, he's like, man, I really wish I housed that because that 7 would have gone a long way as opposed to the field goal. So just some initial thoughts after the game. Just a very familiar frustration and feeling among the fan base. And I think a lot of people are just really punting on the season and want a lot of clarity, and rightfully so. And you're not really getting a clarity message coming down from the top in the athletic department. You might have some news early in this week, but a lot of this is going to get dragged out. And it's kind of just stringing a lot of the people along who are invested because they obviously want change. They want to see changes on the product on the field. And when you see headlines of search committees and all this money, they get back invested, but there's still so many looming questions. And they don't have, obviously, people have lost faith in the people who are there right now and people who are still trying to stick around. So that's where a lot of the frustration is coming in because obviously you've punted on this season, probably punted on part of next season, trying to rebuild, and you're not really laying out guidelines for that. So it's frustrating off of last week when you had the feeling that you could turn the season around. I think that adequately puts that to rest. So many questions in the chat. We'll get to this and then wrap this up here on Saturday, October 4th. Brutal. Virginia Tech refuses to win these close games. Yeah, I mean, I think this is something that's become very evident. I know they broke it last week, and it was the lead for a lot of stories for the Virginia Tech beat writers and different people talking about first one-score win since November 2022. But, like, when you bring in this new staff, like, it's like, ha-ha, funny. Like, but you really have to do deep dive, like, reflection. Like, look at yourself. Like, why is that? Why is that the case? Why can we not come out in the fourth quarter? And was it strength and conditioning? I mean, because that's what everyone was made to believe in the offseason. We're going to come in and play 4 full quarters. Probably even said against South Carolina or Vanderbilt, they look kind of tired after the end of that game. So is it strength and conditioning not be able to close? Is it execution? And that comes back to coaching. What is it? What is it? Because for this tenure now, full tenure, even stepping back into 2021, different parts of that game, not being able to close out those one-score games. What is it? Because, it's razor thin. There's never one play in a football game that can change the result. Okay, fine. But, like, to operate on that razor-thin margin and 6 penalties for 74 yards, especially in those critical moments, is never going to be good enough. It comes back to coaching, comes back to teaching and recruiting the right players who can run the system. Really, really big because you have to win those competitive games if you want to be a competitive program, and they have not been able to. Play them all on the road. Well, Doug Bowman just did a really, really good FOIA over on vtscoop.com, posted on Twitter as well, obviously showing the Wisconsin series $5 million payout if certain people stayed around. Maybe all the games would be neutral site or whatever. But, I mean, that's besides the point. If the coach can't say, obviously, Ben Bell and Donovan Green for continuing to pick up critical personal fouls, and he's not the guy. Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. There's frustration on the boards, people thinking, obviously, Donovan Green didn't see the film back on it. Montgomery talked about it just briefly in the press conference, said he didn't want to make a comment on it because he'd probably be fined by the league office. I didn't see the personal foul, but Donovan Green had one before, and it was also very costly when he did it. And he had one today right up around the goal line, and that one obviously turned a fourth down on the 1-2 yard line or a try to go for a touchdown into a field goal. So a potential net 4-point loss And then the very next offensive series, you roll him out there, it's Donovan Green. I know you're very limited at wide receiver. No Chance, no Keelan. But I just don't know what message that's sending. And like I said, I didn't see it. I don't know it. But Ben Bell, you talk about him as well. I mean, how many roughing the passers? Like just very, very damaging penalties that one. It was 3 full steps after he let the ball go. It's just be disciplined. I mean, it's just basic discipline in coaching and fundamentals, and comes down to the player. So, because I mean, it hurts the entire football team. And it's stuff that's been popping up again and again. Like you put it up on the film room in front of everyone, and it's still coming out. So, I mean, that's just a resounding endorsement of the coaching, players. I mean, that comes down to everyone. So, the offense is one-dimensional. Why is Jones so untouchable to take a seat? I think that's a really good point. Obviously, everyone's clamoring for Pop Watson. They want to see what Garrett Rangel can bring. Montgomery's been pretty firm in saying that they're behind Drones. I think Kyron still, even with his limits and how he's played, gives this team the best option. But at some point, you have to look to try and give yourself a spark. You have guys very frustrated with how the quarterback play is going. Skill position guys who obviously are looking out for their interests, looking out for the future interests, and looking out for the team. And it gets frustrating, obviously, like receivers, whatever the classic mantra online is. But, it is frustrating when balls aren't being delivered on time, even basic situations. And, he's, a 3-year starter here now. And physically, he gives them the best chance overall. But at some point in a game flow, it is going to have to come to that point, it looks like, because you have nothing to lose. But I don't believe the future quarterback for Virginia Tech is on this roster right now. And I think that's going to be a really big point, because you don't really have anyone to impeach him, take his seat, de-seat him, dethrone him, and take that and run with it for years to come. I think, like I said, it's going to be a really big offseason, and make sure to stay tuned into VT Scoop, because when that transfer portal opens, it's going to be really, really big for whatever coach, whoever brings in a guy, has to find a guy, because a lot at this level comes, and you go as far as the quarterback will take you. And that's kind of where they're at amongst different things. I mean, that's the position of the quarterback. You're going to take all the blame. You're never going to get all the favor when things go well. It just comes with the territory. But at some point, yeah, you're going to have to make a move to try and keep people engaged. I wouldn't expect a change this week, but we'll monitor it and we'll see what's said. Obviously, talking to coaches right now, it's so smoke and mirrors. You're getting really not real intel from anyone in that building right over there. So that's a little frustrating, where, you're hearing from channels that coming out on live press conferences or whatever, and obviously playing the game and walking that line of what to actually report and what is being said. So leave it at that. And at this point, it's just kind of start shooting it straight and just laying it out there and forcing the hand, because it's kind of a tired game doing all that. Is there any reason I should keep going? Maybe answer this with a question like, what is calling you back? Like, I think just being detached from it, being an alumni or whoever, like the game day atmosphere is still amazing. It's October 4th. I love college football. This is a cathedral, a beautiful day. To watch college football is a blessing every day. To get to do this called for work, absolutely amazing. But for the fans, totally apathetic. When you invested however much, I mean, just even tickets can be so expensive for fans and different things nowadays. And to keep coming back and supporting and seeing a really poor product on the field, I could only imagine how frustrating that could be. And when you don't see the steps being made by the people who have been at the helm for years and years and years, that can be really frustrating, because it means a lot to a lot of people. And I know, there's always things in life that give you great perspective. And like at the end of this is college football. But I mean, this means a ton to a whole region, a whole community, a whole alumni base. And they feel like they're not being heard. And honestly, they're not, because a lot of people don't really care who you think really should. Like you can boycott. Like, no, the changes are coming. They're coming down the pipe. Enough people have realized. Now, the timeline of it and how that shakes, I'm not sure. And you could find yourself back in the situation just with a lot more money involved here in a little bit. But, yeah, we'll see how Cal on a Friday night goes. I'm sure that won't be an amazing turnout. from this. And the students will come here for the early night game, but I mean, it's tough always for a Thursday or Friday night game for a lot of the alumni base to get up here to Blacksburg. So I'm sure that'll be pretty eye-opening. And then just off the top of my head, you have Louisville the day after Halloween. You have Miami the week right before Thanksgiving break. So a lot of students are going to be going back home. And those are your last couple home games. So I don't think you're exactly going to be filling this place out again. And the weather's only going to be getting worse. So I think you will see that a lot of people won't be coming back. Yeah, new quarterback just asked Penn State. Yeah, I mean, look at Penn State. I don't even know what the score is. I know they were down like 20 points out there. It's just, I mean, there's a totally different situation. But, yeah, it's just really big to get the quarterback right and everything right in that regard. So, I don't know. I mean, the bigger picture, like I said, the new search committee forming, it's not just about one game. Like this apathy, I think everyone knows, or anyone who's staying involved with what's going on knows this isn't just about one game. There's a lot bigger things coming down the pipe. $229 million budget is passing great. And, you just hope. And a lot of it's been hope, just waiting it down the line. So, yeah. Like, you don't even feel like the anger in the stands walking out. You feel detachment, which is tough. Like, you walk out, you see a couple people upset, and then it's just more people. You feel like you see a generation right in front of your eyes, not really invested. So, detached to it is what it is. But people in charge, like whoever has to come in and do that. And I know people will tie this into Brent Price or being that rallying force trying to get the fan base back together. But you have to do an amazing job to try and salvage what's there, because if you lose it, it's gone forever, really. So I before I wrap this up, I want to emphasize none of this is condemning on the guys in the locker room who did play, saying they weren't giving full effort. I think they were giving full effort. A lot of this is just out of their hands with bigger players in the room. But at the same time, players got to go make plays. And when you leave plays out on the field, bad penalties, you can't keep learning the same lessons every Saturday. So this wasn't the rock bottom. It's more just like the steady sine wave of where Virginia Tech football has been at. But it is also proof of how far there is to climb if you want to climb that ladder in Power 4 football, and they want to be really serious about it, like you hear different people say. So the rest of the year is really just about holding on for the ride, seeing who's bought in, obviously, as you come into December, and preparing for what comes next. So change is coming. I think some can feel it. The question is who's steering the next version of Virginia Tech, and when is that finally? So we'll be in Atlanta next week, which will be, I'm sure, another big measuring stick for this team. I know a lot of people are going to be checked out on the field results. Obviously, people have already voiced frustration with what they can do with their Saturdays in the fall. But maybe the budget, maybe that search committee, and whatever that head coach is, and it's not going to come for well over a month now, could try and revitalize some of the fan base. Expecting some news here early this week on maybe some of those organizational changes at the top of the athletic department. But we'll see, because everyone always likes to have an ace up their sleeves. But VTScoop.com is the best place for that. I appreciate everyone jumping in here. It means the world for the support. I know when a team's struggling, it can be easy to not tap out of here. I met a lot of really awesome people walking around the tailgates today who said they watched the show, which means a ton. Meeting people in person just really means the world. Kind of crazy to even be here. But yeah, appreciate it. Check out VTScoop.com. If you're going out in Blacksburg tonight, be safe. If you're going out anywhere, be safe, get home safe, enjoy the rest of your weekend, enjoy some good football. And yeah, see you next time, Monday at 8:30 on Kolby's Corner with some thoughts and takeaways, and here later in the week of hearing some other stuff and practice news. So we're going to keep talking about Virginia Tech football until the wheels fall off. So we'll be here covering it all. So check out VTScoop.com. Everyone have a great rest of your weekend, and God bless. See you next time.